Okay, so welcome to another episode of Soundtrack of Our Lives. I'm here this morning with Heather, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what you do, because I got this very wrong, as we've just realised.
Yeah, I'm not a submariner at all.
Not a submariner at all.
Nor am I in the military.
No, for some reason I thought you were a submarine captain.
No, I'm in the Merchant Navy.
Yeah.
So the Merchant Navy, not the Royal Navy, so not military. So, and yeah, I'm a qualified captain, essentially. I've never sailed in command, but I have sailed as chief officer, and this is on ships such as so the oil and gas industry, so dive support, ROV vessels, platform supply vessels, all the ferries. I went to the ferries after I had my girls for the shorter rotations. So I'm one of the navigators on the bridge of a ship.
So big like ferries that might go from like Calais to Dover or whatever.
Yeah, I was on the Dover Calais ferry for sure. Yeah, with P&O, and yeah, various different ferry routes from Ireland to the UK, to England and what have you. So yeah, different routes, different companies.
They look like they're not an easy thing to navigate around. They're quite big, aren't they, these ferries? So,
yeah, they are quite
they're
big.
not like parking a little car.
Yeah, just reverse park.
Yeah. no turns in them, no.
No. But the captain generally does the majority of the manoeuvring.
So you said like first officer or something. So what
Chief
sort
officer.
of thing does that involve roughly? I haven't got a clue. There's so many people on a boat. What would you be doing?
So it depends on the ship type that I'm on. So yeah, as chief officer on the ferry, we were actually in dry dock and maintenance. So there was a lot of organising, doing risk assessments, permit works, making sure all the different operations that were getting carried out at the same time weren't conflicting, getting third parties on board and making sure that they were where they needed to be.
Yeah.
Everything's safety related, and then just the day-to-day cargo ops and
so loading things on and off these ferries and making sure it's going to the right places and whatever, because it's a logistical nightmare, I'd imagine, to get it all right.
It's generally it's fine, certainly on the ferries, as second officer, you're just loading the cars and the lorries on, making sure that we are segregating any dangerous goods that we've got on board. So.
And do you ever, or have you ever done? So obviously, ferries from England to France is quite a short haul over the Channel. But have you ever done something where you've properly been out at sea?
Yeah, for sure.
Terrifies the shit out of me.
No, why?
Seriously, have you I've seen on YouTube and other street video services where, and obviously these are probably rare occurrences, but these videos on the top of what do you call it, the bridge, is it? So where the people are sailing the ship, and the waves and the rolling and like absolutely being out. I mean, obviously that's not the usual, but that just terrifies me. That.
I mean,
have you ever experienced something like that?
There's definitely been moments throughout my career, going around the Bay of Biscay in it was called the Tiki Bank. It was a very general cargo vessel. She was quite big. Yeah. I mean, obviously not massive in comparison to some of these container ships, but for me it was like possibly it was the biggest ship that I'd been on. And we just had such a slow roll, and every time you kind of went over to one side, you felt like you weren't going to get back up again, and then the next wave knocked against you. So that was pretty mad. Plus it was really foggy as well. So that was one. We've had fire. I've been past Somalia and numerous amounts of times, where we've had skiffs come up parallel our course and look like they were going to approach us.
So what's that? What's
pirates?
Pirates?
Somalian pirates, yeah. So
that doesn't sound like fun at all.
No, but you prepare for these things.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We did have some security guys on. We also set up the vessel with barbed wire and locked everything down and what have you. So it's fine. You kind of like plan for these things.
You've anticipated that it's a possibility, I suppose, haven't you?
Yeah.
Whatever, but I had to ask because I've just seen them videos and I'm just like, it terrifies me. The sea at that level, it's just
I think
it's just
you
horrible.
do come to get used to it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like if you're seasick, you do get your sea legs.
Yeah.
And you kind of, I think if you're just curled up in bed, you will probably feel worse. But if you get up on the bridge, you know, and you can see the horizon, you get used to it. Yeah, you're fine. You know, and it starts becoming a bit more exciting. You know, and you're just like, oh, this is, you know, a bit fun.
Pretty cool.
You're like, yeah. But actually, I'll be honest, like the videos and the photos, they never look as bad as it is.
No.
You're like, it's when you're down on deck, especially if you've got a low freeboard. You know, the waves are a lot more monster than like any video.
Even worse than the video. Look, you're really not even selling it.
I'm not selling it
at all. I'm going to stick firmly on land, or maybe just a pedalo just offshore.
Oh,
that'll do me.
Pedlos, no.
No? Not for you then. And well, that's a nice segue actually. Talking of the sea and all things, and I don't know if this was a purposeful choice, but your first song pick is Bobby Darrin's "Somewhere Beyond the Sea."
It is. So, I love that song anyway. I actually prefer. Do I prefer? No, they're both great versions, but we wanted the Robbie Williams version. Okay, because
on that swing album.
It's such a great album. But basically, it was our first wedding dance.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice to have had the Robbie version. However, there's so much ad-libbing in there with the drum kits. And Mike and I aren't the best dancers at the best of times. So we kind of decided to keep it straight and go for Bobby Darrin because stick with Bobby, stick with the classic. So I mean, my choices today are very much family inspired. And this was our first dance. So this one's for Mike.
So how long have you been married? Because you've got now 4 children.
Yeah, 4 children. In fact, actually, it's our wedding anniversary at the end of July. So this will be going out after our wedding anniversary. 29th of July, and it will be 8 years. 8 years this year.
Fantastic. And then you've got the 4. So what age are your kids? If you would, you don't have to say if I'm.
So Eloise just turned 7 last week. So in July, mid-July. So 7, 5, 2.5, and 6 months old.
Wow. So a decent spread of ages.
Yeah.
And all girls, all boys, good mix.
My eldest 2 are 2 girls, and then there was a 3-year gap between Olivia and Isaac, and then I've got 2 boys, so Isaac and Alexander.
That is a good combination, isn't it?
Yeah.
As they're growing up, sibling boys, yeah. Cool.
Carnage, absolute chaotic carnage.
I mean, 4 children. I can't imagine the work involved.
It's definitely the reason I like working away. Yeah. It keeps me sane.
Keeps your brain fired. Yeah. It's a handful. Yeah, it's a big handful. And what do your husband do then? Because obviously you work away sometimes on the chips and things. So he would be at home. And what's
so he works for Jaguar Land Rover.
Yeah.
He used to be brake specialist, and then he went into motion systems and is now more of a project manager. So I guess you were going to lead to like how do we do it? So we tried to max out childcare arrangements. My mum was pivotal with helping. Unfortunately, she actually then had to go through chemo last year, so we then ended up getting au pairs. So we've had a few au pairs since then. My mum is okay. Like chemo works, and she's absolutely absolutely fine.
That's great
news. She's good. But we've continued to have au pairs, so it just allows for that flexibility for me suddenly getting a job at sea
because it could possibly be reasonably short notice that a project or a job will come up. I've got to jump on this.
Definitely. I mean, I am. Have got applications in for permanent roles, but in terms of agency, it would be pretty last minute for a job. And I've had to say no to a few, which would have been ideal, but just because christening or wedding or something like that.
Something just wasn't quite.
It didn't quite work out.
And you could be away. I mean, how's the longest, or what's the longest amount of time you might be away? It could be.
I would say no to anything past 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. Yeah. So. Because I do have to think about the family, and shorter rotations are definitely what works for us. So the ferries are week or 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
That's much more achievable.
On the rigs, when I've worked on the rigs, it's 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. Again, I would happily do that, but probably the most I would do is 4. Yeah.
Just has to fit in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, and obviously you mentioned there that you were bad at dancing, so you didn't put in some practice.
I think it was two nights before our wedding. We thought, oh, maybe we should have a little go at this.
Yeah, try this out.
And then we were like, no, Robbie doesn't work. Let's go for Bobby. So we gave it. But to be fair, we didn't do too bad. No. And we kind of like bailed out a little bit. We got people to come and join in halfway through.
Yeah, a minute or two in, can't you? And you well, everybody join the couple on the dance floor.
Yeah, exactly that.
We're out of jail. Not everyone's looking at us now.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Oh yeah, why you'd go a whole dance on your own?
Yeah, no, that seems ridiculous.
No, let's get everyone involved. Yeah.
Right. And talking about children, then, so your second choice is Clean Bandit, featuring Zara Larsson. No, I don't know whether this is featuring Zara Larsson's Symphony or if featuring Zara Larsson, and the song is called Symphony.
The song is called Symphony.
Perfect, okay. I thought that was it, but I better just check.
Yeah.
So this is picked because whilst you were pregnant with your first child, and what was going on back then?
Oh, I don't know, it must have been the song of the summer.
Yeah.
Or, the song of the time at the time, and this song it was constantly on. I was pregnant, it was obviously our first, so it was all exciting times and relatively newlyweds as well.
Yeah.
We fell pregnant, we were blessed in the sense that, we fell pregnant within a few months of being married. So, we were quite newlywed, and so we were on this high, exactly.
Time.
And the song's an amazing song. It's very upbeat, and
it's a
good dancey song as well. And so I don't know, Mike. I remember like walking into our spare room, and Mike was using it as a study, and just having a bit of a bop to it, with my bump hanging out. Well, not hanging out, but my bump was there in his face whilst he was. Yeah, exactly. And he just looked at me with such a loving look, because he was just like, this just reminds me of this, and even though Eloise wasn't born at this point, she still knows it's one of her songs, and the kids, they love hearing these songs because they're like, oh, this one reminds mummy of me, and I love this song anyway, it's such upbeat, and so even now, even now, like whenever we're in the car, well, not every single time, but quite often we get, can you put on my favourite song, and it will be this, and Olivia's the same, and I'm hoping Isaac will come to it as well, but like I say, he's 2.5, but
this moment will come. But I always think as well, or I always wonder, so you say like you were fairly quite along with your pregnancy with Eloise, and you always wonder whether with the song, if you were playing it quite often,
whether they can hear it.
Yeah, and it just intrigues me, that does, because it might be like that she'll sit and say, oh, obviously because you talked about it, but I just wonder whether there is an element of that they recognise it from that. And it might sound bizarre to say, but I've heard people say this.
I mean, certainly it's not uncommon for pregnant mothers to to play a bit of music, mainly classical probably, to the belly, and I certainly did that. Or I'd set up my piano and play the piano. I'm kind of hoping my children are musical people.
Yes, you've kind of driven them down that path. So you've just casually dropped in there. I mean, how much of a piano player are you? Are you a pretty accomplished pianist?
Oh, am I? I sound okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more than chopsticks.
Yeah.
I'm beyond chopsticks. Yeah. I never had lessons. I'm completely self-taught. My brother was the one who had lessons, and I just the piano sparked my interest when he had lessons, because he wanted to play the top part, so the right hand.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to play the chords for him. And so he taught me the chords, and then he just played over the top of it. And then suddenly I was playing the chords and playing the bit on top of it. And, he was then getting angry. Was he angry at me? I don't know. But I mean, he's a brilliant musician as well. He grew up as a flautist. I was violin. So there is more opportunities for, I would say, violinists, for orchestras.
Yeah.
Like, he never got to really get into a full orchestra because, there's only a handful of flutes, you know, within the orchestra.
Yeah, it's probably not as prominent.
I mean, he could always do wind bands, of course, but whereas I was always like quite, the symphony orchestra or the whatever orchestra, you know. So, and because there's obviously shit tons of violinists, you know. So yeah, but violin was always my main instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up learning that. That's how I learnt to read music. Piano I just always dabbled with, and guitar I'm pretty good at. I mean, I say pretty good at. I was pretty good when I was like 12, you know, and I probably plateaued a little bit, you know. And to be fair, actually recently I've been going through an Americana and bluegrass jam session.
That's cool.
Yeah, no,
That's really cool.
It's the third Thursday of every month in Barford, in Warwickshire, and it's 19:30 onwards. You get a little bit of food from the pub as well, you know, and it's just a great laugh. It's a great way to get back into music. And actually, bearing in mind I've not been in an orchestra since 2009. I haven't picked up my violin in so long, but getting back to this jam session has just got me playing it again, you know, and I love it. I have to admit, I am enjoying it.
You should have. I didn't realise that you were so musical. You should have brought it along. Give us a little.
No way.
Ditty. No, not to me. Right. Well, we're going to jump on to your third song here. Sonny, Tennet, and Hannah Grace's version of "What's Up."
Yeah. So Four Non-Blondes, obviously the original. It's a great version. Probably should have gone with that, knowing that you prefer Four Non-Blondes than this one.
I did listen to this, but I think I said to you, Four Non-Blondes is just such an iconic song for me.
Yeah.
But this is a great version.
It's a really good version. Yeah, it's a really great version. To be fair, Four Non-Blondes, Olivia loves as well. Yeah. I think I just chose to go for this version because it's a little bit more stripped back. It's quite chill, and you know, I've got it in a playlist that I must have listened to thousands of times. Yeah, you know, at the end of the year, Spotify do you like a report and say, these are your most played songs. Yeah, this was definitely up there.
This is in the top list of your Spotify.
Yeah, definitely, because like I say, I've got this playlist that I can listen to over and over and over again, and this is the second piece in that. It kind of takes you on a journey.
Yeah.
It takes you on a journey, this playlist, you know, starts off quite slow, dare I say sad, and then it starts kind of like coming out of a little bit, and then starts getting a bit dancey and ends up with Chicane's Poppy Holler.
It's intriguing how you make your playlist as well, isn't it? Because I'm very much a segmented kind of thing, so for the most part it's either 80s or 90s or 90s dance. I have to compartmentalise.
Okay.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
And whereas some people, like you, I've seen people say where it takes you on an emotional journey because of the moods of the song.
Yeah, that particular playlist. Yeah. In terms of this song, so this is actually the Four Non-Blondes version is mine and my besties, or one of my besties' songs. Which it's also her and her mum's song, I think. You know, but we were out one night in Plymouth and we were just singing it, and it just became quite standard that this was on. And then it's just featured throughout life, I guess, since then. And so it reminds me of my bestie. And because I played it a lot, Olivia was just always loving this song. And in fact, I've got a video. It was just a dark screen video of her when she must have been 2, not even 2, I don't think. She was one of those children who, you know, like the song "Thank You for the Music" by ABBA.
Yeah.
You know how it's just like, Mama says I was a dancer before I could walk, you know, and then it goes on to say, she says I began to sing long before I could talk. You know, that always reminded me of Olivia because she sang before she could talk.
Just sing straight away.
You could tell what she was singing, and she wasn't really talking much, but she just had tunes in her head, and you know, you could always even tell the difference between her. You know how like Twinkle Twinkle has got the same tune as the ABC song.
Yeah.
You know, like you could tell the difference between which one she was singing in her head. Because she would be like MNNOP, you know, if she was doing the ABC song. So you could tell. And so she was singing before before.
And is she kind of carried on with that kind of loving singing? Is she still really?
Yeah, so basically I've got this video of her in the dark, you know, like that I obviously took for my bestie, and it was her being like, hey, yeah, yeah, you know, and she was singing Four Non Blondes, What's Up, and I was just like, I love that for her.
And you sound like you've got a bit of a voice yourself.
Oh, do you know what?
Yeah?
I cannot believe that I've just sang on this, you know, like.
No, you can hear it, you know, I mean, I can't.
Oh, I didn't do it properly, yeah, it probably sounds really bad, but.
No, it sounds like you can hear that you've got a decent vocal, to me anyway.
I mean, I do sing in a choir.
Yeah,
I'm not a solo singer though. No. Although I did do a solo at the last concert.
But it's there. It's definitely there.
But when it comes to my Olivia, I probably should have chosen Katy Perry's Raw, because that really is her song, just for her. You know, no one else, not my bestie. No, you know, like that is her song. So if I was to interchange this one, it would be for Katy Perry's Raw. But I do love this song, so let's stick with this.
Could be an honourable sixth choice.
Oh yeah.
And it is. I mean, it is a pretty. It's quite an inspirational, uplifting song, isn't it? Katy Perry, that particular track. It's a real.
In fact, that whole kind of, what did I say? I don't really know the album per se, but there was a few songs out around that time. Fireworks as well. Yeah, they're just great songs. You know, like really good songs.
Yeah, get you going kind of songs. Right, what between song choice number 4? I love this track, John Denver.
I know, John Denver. He's just awesome. Okay, so. That's my kind of like my Sunday go-to, you know, like when you're just wanting a bit of music in the background, you don't want to really be thinking too much, you know, it'll be like, hey Google, play John Denver, you know, and it all starts off with Annie's song and then it goes on to something else and then, you know, like, but when it came to, so I've gone for Country Roads here, and that is because during my C-section with my first, well, it was my first C-section with my first boy, so my third child. And essentially I didn't know that we could play our own music. So I asked for some Queen and she said, oh, it's a really weird playlist. Someone else asked for Queen today. So then, of course, I was just like, oh, not unique enough, what? But I do love Queen, especially the Greatest Hits album. It's a great album, you know. And anyway, so I actually then thought, do you know what, let's get a bit of 07 on. My husband loves 07. He was actually born to 07. Right. But then, you know, like once all the good ones have gone and they had already been played, I was just like, right, let's switch it up here. And I was just like, I just need some John Denver in my life right now. So I was getting sewn up, if you will. And I asked for, to be fair, I knew it would play, but so I can't actually remember whether I'd asked specifically for this one or whether I just let it come. But when Country Roads played, everybody, and I mean everybody in that theatre was singing to. No, it was amazing, honestly. Like,
in a good way. Like,
if you can have an elected C-section, it's the most peaceful way to have a child. And yes, okay, the recovery is brutal. Yeah. However, you know, like you go in, you know you're having your child, and you know that like as soon as you know, it's like you're committed, and when you come out, you've got him or her. You know, like
quite efficient, maybe.
Definitely, and you know, so. It was just a beautiful moment. It was so serene, and obviously I was slightly high on drugs probably. No, my husband was sat next to me. We had the baby, and everybody was just singing the chorus. And even the surgeon, he was just like, "I love this song, take me home, country roads." And he was just, everybody was singing, and it made it. Yeah. And that song that's Zach Isaac. You know, that's him.
Obviously just burned into your mind.
Oh, 100%. To the point that when it came to my 5th choice, you know how I said I created a playlist. Yeah. Or maybe we had this discussion before we went on it, I can't remember. But I created a playlist for my 4th child. Because I then knew that I could have a playlist within the C-section. Yeah. And so I created this playlist where basically all these songs featured on this playlist. It's called Welcome to the World, Xander. So you could probably find that playlist on Spotify if you googled it. And it's just all the songs that either I love or that remind me of my family, and a song to remind me of everyone. So hence, you know, like Bobby Darrin, somewhere Beyond the Sea and Zara Larsson's Symphony, and it's to remind me of something somewhere. And yeah, so I ummed and ahed, do I put this song in that playlist, because it might not have the same vibe as when we were in the C-section for Isaac. But I thought, no, I'm just going to do it. And actually, as it turned out, we never actually had time to play half the songs because the surgeon was just so quick, that Alexander was born to Hans Zimmer's Pirates of the Caribbean or something like that. Yeah, it was. I had a lot of film music to begin with. Yeah, because that's in another world. That's what my job would be. Would be a composer for film music.
Yeah.
And I would. But
so this last choice that you're speaking of then is the Beatles.
Yeah.
Hey Jude.
Yeah. So completely switching it up there then. So Hey Jude has featured for many things. Okay. Hey Jude. When would it have started? I can't remember. I was in a lock-in in a pub. I had lock-ins at this particular pub in Stratford many times, and unfortunately they were going to be closing down. So they had a lock-in specifically for their favourite regulars, and I got to choose the last song that was ever played. And I chose this song because, one, it's like 5 minute odds, and secondly, just getting everybody arms out, like linked arms, doing the na 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 na. It's such a moment. Okay, so, and I think knowing and walking out doing that of the pub, everyone's got it in their head. It's that everlasting kind of like song that for the rest of the evening. So we then had it as the last song at our wedding. Then like I say, it's featured in other people's. I've kind of like convinced other people to have it as the last song was their wedding. And I convinced my choir to sing it, so we've sung it at the last couple of concerts as well. And it gets all the, especially at the end when everyone's clapping, everybody, and we, oh gosh, when was it? May time. I don't do karaoke. I don't really like karaoke, but I was out with a group of people in Southampton. I was on a course, and essentially this guy, one of the guys, wanted to go to O'Neill's and do karaoke, and I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And so, I'd had a few drinks, so I built up a bit of courage to go and do one myself, which was Thank You for the Music. And then I decided, screw it, let's do another one. But we probably would have run out of time. There was loads of people still had like lists on it, and I'd spoken to the guy who was like comparing it, if you will. And he was just like, oh, that's a great song, I'll get everyone up. And so me and this guy who actually he was the reason why we went, we both got on stage and did it together. And he had some crazy rap for the middle part. I was just like, what is that?
Freestyling.
Yeah, completely freestyling. And it was amazing. It was just, but even walking, it was then kick-out time. And you heard people doing the nah, and it's just one of those songs that gets everybody involved. Yeah. Everybody involved.
No one can resist a bit of the
no, not at all.
Nobody.
But so, because it's the last song and Alexander was going to be our last baby, it felt fitting to have that as the last song that we, so he was actually already born by this point. But it was the last song that we then kind of like finished in the theatre. And I didn't know whether I would actually make it through the song, because I noticed after I'd created this playlist, I started playing it in the car, and the girls were like, that's my song, and this one would come up, and I remember looking in the back, in the mirror, looking into the back, and I could see and I could hear the girls singing the Nas. And I could never get through it without crying. And I don't know whether that was just the whole premise that this is going to be like my last baby or not, but it was emotional. It kind of really hit me. And like I say, it's the last song that features throughout a lot of things, so.
And it's just a great song to finish, like you say, to finish a night on or whatever, because I don't know anyone who could resist singing along to it. No, and like I don't cry at it now, because like I say, like the choir has
sung this the last couple of times, and you do get the audience singing.
Yeah.
You know, like, in fact, we did it at the beer festival, Wellsbourne Beer Festival. Everyone was singing. We did it at our concert. Everybody was singing. And then we also did it at, there was the open day at the allotments. You know, we just sang a handful of songs, but this was one of them. The last one, again, the last song.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it got people, the passerbyers, you know, there was some people who had stopped to actually listen to us, and yeah, they all joined in as well. Yeah, it's just a great one for joining in. So that is why that's my fifth choice. Yeah. It's my fifth and final.
What a choice.
And, you know, for my fourth and final child, and yeah, Hey Jude by the Beatles.
Such a pick. I mean, the Beatles are, the biggest band of all time. That's my personal favourite song of theirs as well. I just can't, you cannot beat it for me. And that's saying something from all the songs that they've made.
Yeah.
But what a fantastic song.
It really is.
Yeah. I was just thinking as well, you know, when you're talking about people doing singing along, you know, and I've always wanted to see these flash mobs that appear wherever. And I'd imagine if someone just rocked up in the city centre, like a little band, and started singing Hey Jude, and you could imagine instantly, everybody would be involved, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
You just couldn't, everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But that's it, we're at the end. Talking of the end, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming along. It's been great to chat to you and hear all your songs and
I can't believe you got me singing.
Yeah, there's a little bit, so this is going out, and that's staying in. I thought you should have bought a violin. If I'd have known, I'd have asked you.
No.
Maybe that's why you didn't mention it. Yeah. But yeah, thank you very much.
Oh no, thank you, Neil.
Cheers.